All right, we'll open up this planning and zoning meeting at 4 o'clock. And before we get to item 1A on the agenda, I just want to clarify something for the people that are on this planning and zoning commission, that we have been basically, for the lack of a better word, accused of violating Sydney ordinance by approval of a plat about a month ago. And it's coming from people out in the communities, one in specific that ran for city council in the past, and that this person just continually accuses us up here of violating Sydney ordinances and not knowing what we're doing. So I'm going to address this, get this on the record, basically for us, that we approved a plat in Comanche Trace that was the subject of the stage 4 water restrictions, and we were accused, and city council's been accused of violating city ordinance because of the stage 4 water restrictions. And I addressed this in a letter to the editor in the past, but doesn't seem to have explained everything. The platting process is a development process between the city of Kerrville and the development services and the developer, whoever's submitting the plat. It's a process that takes a while. And when you start the platting process, you submit a preliminary plat that the city reviews and approves if it meets all the city's subdivision codes and rules. And then once you do that, you submit civil engineering plans and infrastructure plans. And the city reviews that, and if that meets the city, they approve that. And then the final of this process is, once you've gone through those processes, you submit for approval a final plat. The final plat is approved based on all the previous submittals and information given to the city. So when the final plat comes in, if it hasn't changed, if they haven't done anything that changes the plat, then we are obligated to approve the plat. And in this particular case, the misunderstanding is we're in stage 4 restrictions, so the stage 4 restrictions does not allow the city to issue any new water connection permits. Well, the civil engineering plans that were submitted with this plat a year ago were approved by the city, and at that time, that was their water connection approval. So had we chose to not approve the plat, the city would have been sued and they would have won. So just so everyone understands, we have limitations on the decisions that we can make. We follow the rules, we abide by what our responsibilities are. We're all volunteers here. We're not getting paid to do this. We're volunteering our time for the city. So I wanted to get that on the record. I wanted everyone to know, if anybody watches this planning and zoning meeting, they'll understand, because I took it personally, because I'm the chairman of the P&Z, and everybody up here does a lot of investigation into the things that we have to consider and approve. And trust me, we've been through some things where we've disapproved. But now that, I just want to make sure that this gets on the record, that we've done what our responsibility is, and we haven't violated any city ordinances. So that being said, we'll go to 1A, which is approval of the minutes from the October 5th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as provided.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Any comments or second? We have a second. All in favor? Okay, the motion passes. We're going to move on to consideration under 3, public hearing, consideration and action. And this will be a public hearing, but we'll start with 3A. Drew, and you can kind of lead us into this.
Resolution to allow a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit on Methodist Encampment Block 3, Lot 13, more commonly known as 312 Cedar Drive. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant if they want to share their plans with the board, and then I'll go through staff report before the public hearing.
So is the applicant here?
Yes, we're here.
Would you like to say anything?
We are trying to build a home for my mother. She's 83.
Go ahead and step up to the
Yeah.
mic, sorry.
Go ahead.
This is your one chance.
This is my one chance. Thank you very much for, thank you guys very much for taking a look at it. Steve has done a wonderful job in helping me put this thing together. And he's given me what we need to do and how we need to do it. And it is a mother-in-law house It's, she's 83, got dementia. She's between stage 3 and stage 4, which means she is at stage 4. She will not be able to take care of herself. So we have to do something, and we looked and attempted to buy houses, and it's just difficult to find something close to where we live and also be able to be a short distance in case we need to be there to take care of her. This also gives us the ability with the house to have somebody stay there in case we go on a trip or on a vacation and not be a burden on our children or other family members. So we've tried to do our due diligence and put it together and plan everything, and we're to this stage to where we're looking to get approval. And that's really, any questions for me?
Any questions for the gentleman before we open the public hearing, guys?
Is the quarry stoned area the actual site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the retaining wall, since, well, if you've been to Methodist encampment, it's not exactly flat.
Your site work is,
Yes, the site.
that's nice, it's done,
been
you've
done a
done
while
well
back, yeah.
to this point, so.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I just say your site work looks nice.
Thank you.
You bet.
so I'm gonna open the public hearing at 4:06. Is there anyone, no one is signed up to speak? Is there anyone that wishes to speak on anything?
She's our neighbor, but she's here to support us.
Yeah, she told me. All right, so we're gonna close the public hearing at 4:06, 4:07.
The property is zoned R1, so the additional dwelling unit does require the conditional use permit. It is, on the future land use plan, is transitional residential as the rest of the neighborhood, no change there. We did request that they submit 2 site plans. The first site plan that you have before you meets all the zoning code as a limited footprint of the accessory dwelling unit, no more than 50% of the main area of the home. However, based on ADA accessibility and some other considerations for the design of the home, they're wanting to pursue a 900 square foot accessory dwelling unit. That's not the purview of the or the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's under the purview of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, because that'll be a variance to the code. So the Planning Commission's looking at approving the use for an accessory dwelling unit. If they get approved from ZBA also, they'll build the larger one. If not, they would still have the option to build the smaller one. So that's why you have 2 site plans. They do have another step after council to go through that for the variance on the size, but wanted to make sure it was transparent out in the open that is their final request will be this site plan, but that's under the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Is that strictly, Drew, because of the size of the home?
Yes, sorry,
600 feet is less than 50%?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the accessory dwelling unit by code is limited to 50% of the area of the main house. And so they're looking at really more 75% at 900 square feet. They did submit a petition, again, with 17 neighbors in favor as well. And based on no change to the zoning, complies with comprehensive land use plan and the future land use plan, staff recommends approval. Be pleased to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Might bring up a question. The new addition would be subject to dark skies,
That is correct.
but the original property would not.
Correct. The dark sky ordinance does have I think off the top of my head, I think it was 10-year retroactive replacement. That's citywide, obviously. If they're not doing any work on the main house, only the new structure would be required to comply with dark sky lighting.
Anybody else? The only concern that I will express is what I always look at when we do these conditional use permits and variances, is that once, I know all these are done case by case basis, and once this is done, you open the door for, you know, anybody that wants to do an accessory dwelling there can come in, and it would be hard pressed for us to, you know, turn anyone down if they meet all the requirements. That is my only concern, and I'm assuming that everything is on a case-by-case basis, so you guys would deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
That's correct, yeah. And same goes, I mean, like you said, if some conditional use permits, we do see more of a trend follow-one request. I think the last accessory dwelling unit we've had was probably 2 years ago, so they're still not as frequent regardless of, how often we've had them, so.
I don't have any questions. There seems to be plenty of support from the neighborhood, and I would entertain a motion on this if there are no more comments on this, approving this conditional use permit.
I'll move to approve the conditional use permit for 1312 Cedar Drive.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion is approved unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
I hope you get your variance.
Thank you.
So now we'll move on to 3B. Drew?
Resolution to allow a conditional use permit for an accessory dwelling unit on Highlands Block 4, Lot 12, more commonly known as 505 East Lane. And I'll turn it over to the applicant to introduce.
Very similar situation with a twist. So I live on East Lane. The house across the street went up for sale in 2019 and my daughter bought it. She's been remodeling, doing work on it. We want to change the outbuilding as my future mother-in-law home. She just had a second child, so we want to be able to not only have that for my future home when I retire in a few years, but in the meantime, over the next few years with her new baby, to be able to have her nanny live back there. So that's kind of a twist, you know. And so if we get the permit to turn it into my future dwelling, then we would take the next step and see if we could get permission for the nanny to live there or for somebody to live there in the back. So it'd be like long-term rental. I didn't think about my neighbors. I think all of my neighbors would be fine with it. Half
Well,
of
they
them
were
rent.
notified. Anybody that
Yes.
lived within 200 feet, I did not
Yes.
see anything in the packet that,
Yeah,
there was one,
There's
one
on the back page.
to support it, right?
which I can guess,
No,
yeah.
this was against it?
Probably my neighbors to the left, I bet.
I didn't get this in my original packet.
It's the last page on the back.
Hmm.
Yeah. It came in after we'd emailed the packet out. Right?
437 East Lane.
Yep, next door.
Well, I'm gonna open the public hearing at 4:12. And I don't have anyone signed up to speak. I guess this letter would be the only thing. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 4:12, 4:13.
Are there any questions I can answer? Obviously, I didn't read the letter. I don't know if there's any concerns in that I could address.
I can barely read it.
Worried about chickens and noise and light.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, we did put lights on in the back of our house, and she called the police, and the police said she has every right to have a light on. We had chickens, she called the cops on the chickens, they came, the city, we paid our permit, did the dwelling, did everything right. She called the police because my grandson at 4 years old was naked in the backyard. They asked us not to do that again, so he can't do that anymore. So, yeah, so all her concerns, the lights and the chickens and whatever the other, they have all been addressed.
yeah, I would assume this is the same situation. You put the dwelling in, it's gonna have to abide by the dark sky rules, is that correct?
Yes, if they do a remodel on the structure, because it's existing structure, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
The remodel permit to convert it from a storage building to a dwelling unit would trigger dark sky compliance on that structure,
That one.
but not on the main house.
Correct.
Unless they're adding new lights on the main house, those would also have to comply, but the existing lights on the house can remain.
Right.
New lighting on the accessory dwelling unit will have to be dark sky compliant.
Anybody have any questions? My only comment would be that make sure you get your lighting done right.
Absolutely.
She's probably, you're probably gonna get more complaints, but
Yes.
I have no, other questions, so if that's, no one has any comments, I'll entertain a motion on this conditional use permit. We have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second?
I'll second.
Motion to approve, a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion approved.
Thank you. Would you like this back?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Staff report, our next meeting is December 7th, and December 12th should have a workshop for council on some pending zoning code updates, just some minor tweaks that we've come across over the last year or two. So 2024, look to have those hit your desk at some point. We'll get direction from council, kind of propose the changes that we found, get direction from council to either to proceed or not. If we proceed with those, we'll bring them back to you guys later. So,
Anybody have anything they'd like to see on a future meeting? All right, if there's nothing else, unless y'all just want to hang around, we'll be adjourned.
that's good.
I like it.